Right then, more news about my comics. It's a rainy, snowy day outside. So I only print. I do some printing. I only print a handful of comics, as I've said before in my videos. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 20. It depends how much interest really I've had in the comics at the time. How I want to keep a copy for myself. Sometimes I'll start making a comic for Patreon, and then people go, "Oh, that's amazing! I wish I had a copy." And a couple of others go, "I wish I had a copy." So I tend to know that I need to print enough for myself, enough to have some for sale, and enough for essentially pre-orders that have come in. I'm pretty much sold out of all of my self-published comics at the moment. For example, Majesty issue 1 and issue 2. They're both sold out. So Majesty is my British superhero. You can see she's wearing a Union Jack costume. Not on her bum, obviously. It's a black one with a red stylised Union Jack on it. Actually, a funny thing about this costume that I designed is it's one of my most covered up costumes. I mean, technically, if you zip that bit of the costume up, right, the only thing that's showing is a bit of bum and the tops of her thighs. She's even got a mask, so a lot of her face is covered. And at one point on Facebook, I had some crazy could come up and go, "Oh, look at this! Another scantily clad, semi-naked superheroine." And I was like, "She's actually wearing more than a swimsuit." "No, no, it's a bimbo comic." It's blah, 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 blah. I was like, "Whatever. If you don't like that, jog on. Go read one of Bendis's comics where everybody goes blah 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 for comic after comic after comic." Scantily clad, obviously, because it's one of my comics. Kablam. They're a good printer. They're really slow at getting your stuff to you on time because you can expect a long wait, but they're a good printer. They do full bleed. If you don't know what full bleed means, it's that. See this page here. See how the picture runs right to the edge. A lot of POD, print on demand companies, won't do full bleed properly, but they do. So this is Majesty issue 1. She's a former goon for hire, super goon for hire. So if you were a criminal, psycho, killer, scientist person that wanted to kill James Bond, you'd hire her as your boss super goon. But in this comic, the superheroes intervene and turn her around after sending her to prison. She becomes a goodie. As you can see, I put a lot of work into my writing. It's truly Shakespearean in its magnitude. Yeah. Issue 1 is sold out, I'm afraid. Yes, I have it because it's my comic, obviously. But it's created by Rudetoons. Yes, that's me. This one had a cover by Frank Cader. He's an artist that's out there. He's a unique individual. Let's say that. He did some sketch cards for me. He did a 4-piece puzzle card. Now that means the bit of the artwork on each card. So I had to put them together inside a scanner, scan them, and then I turned it into the cover for issue 1. But alas, it is sold out. I sold the last issue just a couple of days ago to a customer that was getting some pre-orders for Vegan Cave Girl. So lots of people have them signed with a sketch inside and a little bonus sketch on the outside, but alas, no more. People would have to be messaging me saying, "Oh man, I really want those copies of Majesty with giant buttocks and everything." And I'd be like, "Oh, well, I guess I have to do some more copies." So either I'd reprint issue 1, just a small number, or I'd do a new cover for it. Maybe add something. This is issue 2. Yeah. So as you can see, with each issue of Majesty, I like to put a pin up of her in a costume. Noisy people outside. Wonder what they're... People walking their dogs. Oh, how annoying when it flicks through. It's quite hard. Oh, there's a page to open on. It's quite hard to open the pages and hold them open while I'm holding this Flatty. I call them Flatties tablet. So this is just a lot of nudity in this issue because obviously it's a giant Cthulhu capturing Majesty. Shocking behaviour, and a Cthulhu one. Yes. So all of my comics are interconnected. It's the Booniverse, with me being Boo Rudetoons, the Booniverse, one universe. So Vegan Cave Girl is in the same universe as Majesty, and all my comics, whether they be superhero, fantasy, horror, everything, I just, connect them all up. So there's Britannia, there's Majesty, there's Merville, or is it Merviel? I'm not sure. It's a French word that means marvel. I haven't actually given her own comic yet. Britannia's had 2 issues, although I've only printed 1, so she's got 2 web comics. Majesty's had 2 printed comics. She hasn't had any comics yet. The cover is by a buddy of mine, Louis Small Jr. He's a really cool artist, and he's a really nice guy. So there we go. That's sold out. You can't have that either. I've sold all those copies out to customers. Yeah, all gone. So both of those are gone. People would have to ask, and then I'd have to work out how to do it and such. The Black Boomerang, issue 1. So there's Doug. He's an alien. There's Black Boomerang. There's his sidekick, whose name completely escapes me at the moment. Even though I invented her. Now, Black Boomerang is awesome because he is my Aboriginal, native Australian Batman type hero. There's Locke. That's what she's called, Locke. So I totally knew that. You see, I always try to put designs and stuff in the backs of my comics so that he's nude. See, I don't only draw female characters nude. You get potato aliens nude as well. That's why my comics are better than most people. Now, I originally drew this as a webcomic, and then I coloured it myself. I hate digital colouring. I hate it. But I coloured it myself. But when I came to print the comic edition, I had to make it black and white. So that's sold. I think I only did 5 copies of that. I may have done 10 copies. I can't remember now. Sold my last one a little while ago. So Black Boomerang is gone. If I redid Black Boomerang, I would probably do a brand new cover for it. I liked my black and white cover, don't get me wrong. I really wanted an Aboriginal Batman type hero. So he has gadget boomerangs that explode and blow people up. And his special goggle lens, boomerang goggle lens thing here, allows him to see in different ways, infrared and all that cool stuff. And his costume is actually made out of, what's it called? Graphene, that new miracle substance that the British invented because we're better than everybody. Which is essentially, it's as bendy as rubber and only a couple of centimetres thick, but it's, what did they say, 200 times harder than steel or something. And I thought, well, if you make your superhero costume out of that, practically bulletproof, isn't it? It's going to bounce all kinds of stuff off it. Here's another one that's sold out. Flag Force Australia. Now, Flag Force is my main superhero team. So, you've got your Justice League, your Avengers. I've got Flag Force. And they're essentially a volunteer team of superheroes from different nationalities. And they all have to wear a flag-based costume as they try to save the world. But, of course, in my comics, everything goes wrong. Boobies are usually seen. Bad guys usually get blown up. I don't have that many bad guys that survive a comic, to be fair. They usually get blown up. Yeah. So I always put pin-ups and stuff in the back. You see, this was the first time Black Boomerang appeared, because he's in the Australian. This is the Australian team of Flag Force. There he is. There's a mummy getting blown up, I told you. And then after I did this, I went and gave him his own comic, you see. Doug appears in practically all my comics, because he's just awesome. Oh, you cannot beat drawing Spud aliens. They're so enjoyable to draw because they have such expressive faces. Yeah. See? Bring, bring. There's Booman in the background. Booman, the greatest hero of them all, because he's so mighty and epic and vegan. Do, 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 do. Flag Force, a team of international volunteer super beings who come together to help the helpless. The White Stars are the Australian division, doing things no one else can do in a way no one else would do. Created by Boo because he is awesome, just like Boo Man. There you go. So there's a selection of my comics, which at the moment you cannot get because they're sold out, which is really helpful, me advertising them like this to you. I've got other comics as well. I've got Flag Force, I've got Britannia, I've got Classic Crusaders, I've got... what else have I got? I've got Red Rooster, I've got some others that I can't even remember at the moment because I've done so many. Squishy Brain Company. That was I made that up many years ago when I was in art college, and so I tried to put that on all my comics because that's my little self-publishing company. So I hope you've enjoyed having a look at Majesty Issue 1, Issue 2, Black Boomerang Issue 1 and Flag Force Australia Issue 1. You have witnessed behind the scenes dramatic footage that included me singing. Thank you and goodbye.